What's up guys, it's Ganty here, and in this video I'm going to tell you how me and the other members of my guild Shock Tactics get huge amounts of PvP fame and how we do it. Newer players often see guilds with high PvP fame requirements and instantly get disheartened. One of the current requirements of my guild is 125ml PvP fame, which although it is quite high, shouldn't take you too long if you do the correct content. Let's get into it and take a look at the first method, which is dungeon diving. Before we move on to some of the dungeon diving clips, I just wanted to tell you about two of the main builds that we use for these dives. We often dungeon dive in a two-man party, and 80% of the time, these two weapons are used in some variation. Diving as a two-man, if successful, can result in both players gaining huge amounts of PvP fame, as well as a much bigger share of the loot. I'm going to start off with the axe build. I personally use the Realm Breaker, however there are multiple axes that can be used successfully when dungeon diving. The AoE damage from both the Q and the W combined with the clap damage from the E create huge amounts of pressure, especially if you find the dungeon group already fighting mobs. The rest of the build is about survivability. The HP steal from the Hellion jacket is literally a lifesaver in most situations, so why not have two? That's why we run the Spectre hood. The boots and the cape are a personal preference, however I choose to run Royal Sandals for extra damage and a Limmer's cape for the energy regen, as some of the fights can go on longer than expected, and if you run out of energy as a two-man, it's often game over. Now we take a look at the Bloodletter build. The Bloodletter player is going to work off the back of the axe's pressure. They aren't likely to deal as much damage, however they will almost always get the killing blows. The Bloodletter should follow up from the axe looking to execute anyone in range. As a weapon, it is often able to negate a lot of damage when using the W and E, and fighting against this build can be a real pain in the ass. This is a build that my good friend Zan has put together, and almost everyone in our guild uses it. Mirroring the previous build, we use Hellion Jacket and Spectre Hood for the survivability. For the boots we choose Royal Sandals for the extra damage, as well as a Thetford cape. Our members choose to run Eye of Secrets as the offhand for the energy regen. This can be a really heavy energy consuming build, and the Eye of Secrets helps to keep it topped up. I'm not going to go super in depth on these builds, combos or tactics that we use, however if it's something that you'd like to see in the future, then let me know in the comments. Let's take a look at some clips. As soon as you make contact with the enemy group, you need to engage. Often panic will set in as they usually expect the attack to be from more than two players. If you pile on the pressure, you are often able to kill 2 to 3 players before they realise that you're only a two-man and they start to fight back. At this stage, the fight is normally already won and you just need to play it smart to out-survive the enemy. Be careful not to take aggro from mobs, as they can deal some serious damage and sway the fight back in the group's favour. To get the big kills, you need to make sure that you are diving in the right areas. Try to target tier 8 zones that are used actively. You can often tell which zones are hot based on how many hideouts they have. We are Martlock based, and Red Tree is a perfect example of this. If you don't have much experience with this kind of thing, try out some tier 6 or 7 zones before you make the jump to more populated areas. This next clip is a prime example of some of the potential kills you can get from dungeon diving. In the heavily populated areas, some guilds feel much safer and are willing to bring out huge gear. Xaniz and Booty come across a group who have some members in full 8.3 who really shouldn't lose this fight, but they do, and the guys really profit from it. I run a lot of in-guild competitions for the highest PvP fame during the month, and Xaniz and Booty got around 25ml combined PvP fame just from these 3 dungeons, as well as around 40 million in loot. If you have the patience and search enough dungeons, these are the kind of groups you can find. Around 50% of my total PvP fame comes from dungeon diving, and as long as you don't take it too seriously, it can be a lot of fun. Start off learning the basics and get some good synergy with your teammate, and before you know it, you'll be farming these groups for millions in PvP fame and silver. Like I previously said, this is just a basic guide, and if you would like to see a more in-depth dungeon diving guide on my channel in the future, just let me know. Up next is going to be ganking. I just wanted to show you guys that it's not all about the loot, and there's actually some huge kills to be had when we're out there doing the transport ganks. I'm going to give you a brief look at the main build used by my guild for ganking. It's a build based around claws. They're a weapon that when used in a group, they're able to lock down a target like no other. Shadow Edge is a great skill for capturing the target, and the CC provided by Disembowel is where most of the lockdown comes from. Alongside this, I run Stalker Hood as it reveals invisible targets, Fiend Robe as it provides an extra form of CC which is useful against tanky mounts or blocking off exits. Hunter Shoes provide instant speed as well as increasing your crowd control abilities, which is great for the initial catch. The Royals are tricky at the moment and often overrun by blues, which is why the tier of gear being used is very low to keep the cost down when you inevitably die. As you'll see in these next two clips, just because someone is naked on a mount doesn't mean they aren't transporting anything. Often if a target looks suspicious, we kill them anyway, as these types of players have been some of our biggest kills. If you're unsure, the most common way to check is to inspect the player and check the total fame. If it's high, then you know they're more than likely carrying something. This isn't exactly a guide on how to gank, it's just to show you the potential kills that you could be getting if you gave it a try. I would say that around 40% of my total PvP fame comes from ganking, as well as the majority of my in-game income. For someone like me who does no PvE and isn't interested in gathering or crafting, ganking is my only way of earning money. I gank 1 or 2 times a week and I've become fully sustainable by doing just this. I know that ganking gets a huge amount of hate as it's often seen as an unfair way due to the targets normally being heavily outnumbered. However, it actually takes a lot of coordination between a group, and if you do not have the correct synergy, it's quite easy for a target to escape. In the next couple of clips, take a look at how the team use their abilities and the rotations that they use. Communication is the most important part of a successful ganking group to ensure that we are able to keep the target locked down and that skills aren't being overlaid. Map positioning is also key. Together with your other group members, you need to cut off all possible exits. Ganking in the Royals usually provides the biggest kills due to the transporters heading to the black market. However, as a hostile, you're going to be targeted by a lot of blues and often chased around the maps. Although not as common, groups can have success in the black zones. If you time your ganking sessions with ZVZ CTAs, you are often able to pick off people who are late to the party or heading back to town, and some of these guys use huge gear. My ganking videos get a lot of views and I'm often asked how we do it and if it would be possible to show you guys. An in-depth ganking guide is something that I'm working on right now, and it will be released in the future, explaining everything so that you're able to replicate it. As for now, two of my good friends, Tholix and Angry Wolf, both have ganking guides on their channels that are definitely worth checking out, and if you just enjoy ganking videos, you'll find plenty of those on both of their channels. This last clip coming up is a recent kill that we had. Not only was the kill worth 17 million in silver, it was also worth over 18 million PvP fame, and at the time was the biggest kill this month. It no longer surprises me what some people transport through these zones, and it's still one of the reasons that I most enjoy ganking. Lastly, we're going to take a look at corrupted dungeons. Although I'm not a solo player myself, I certainly think they're worth mentioning, so it's something we'll take a look at. When I first started the game, I remember watching Stabber and applying for Killer Instinct and being told that I needed 30 million PvP fame and being nowhere near that. Anything over 100 mil PvP fame was considered to be extremely high. However, with the recent addition of corrupted dungeons, this is no longer a case. A friend of mine who plays these a lot has managed to get over double my total PvP fame. However, prior to this release, we were both on very similar amounts. I'm not much of a solo player myself, I never have been, and much prefer the group aspects of the game. However, for those people that do enjoy this style of play, it can be really rewarding, and if you struggle to find group content, or have certain times of the day where your guilds aren't as active, this is a nice option to fall back on. This is also a great way to learn different mechanics of the game, and how to use them, or how they're used against you. Not only is it extremely competitive, but at the higher end of the content, players are normally all using full 8.3, which means if you manage to win the fight, you get huge PvP fame and huge amounts of silver providing the gear doesn't trash. Although it's not something that I can see myself playing, it's certainly one to consider if you enjoy solo play. I just wanted to take the time in this video to say thank you to everyone who has supported my channel over the past few months. Because of this, I've decided to try and create some different content for you guys and have some exciting things in the pipeline for the future. You'll probably also be able to catch me live on Twitch in the very near future. I recently hit over 1k subscribers on YouTube and announced a huge giveaway to say thank you in my last video, and the winners of that will be announced at the end of this video. Congratulations to the winners. You can either PM me in game or join our Discord server, the link is in the description. Message me on there to claim your prize. Thanks for watching guys, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.